She's back in action.
You did it. That's it.
That's 10 days.
Really?
That's the longest vacation you've taken.
Yeah, it really, vacation, yes.
I was like,
you don't say it at home?
Well, people talk about time that we take as moms when the babies are born, that leave time. I only wanted to sleep, and I never could.
Yeah.
So that's not vacation. True, really.
I was like,
I don't look back on maternity leave and say, I was so tan and rested.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, people say sleep when the baby sleeps. I mean, my youngest is turning 8. I'm still trying to do that.
Wow.
I was very needy when you were on vacation. I may have emailed and said, please come back. I missed you.
It was very sweet.
I missed Harris when she was gone.
It's not
the same
and I
vibe.
was home in Arizona.
Oh, yeah, you went to Arizona.
I did do some border talk while I was home with some of my border connections. Well, it's interesting because there is agreement that, and you mentioned this during the TV version of us, that the money has been there to build either a fence line type wall structure and also to bolster the people that we have on the border to keep illegals from coming into the country. I think that there is a dynamic understanding, maybe better than the talking points that exist in some of the media, about what needs to be done at the border. And people who live there, Megan, you know this is true, they completely get it. They know that this does not mean more than 1,000 miles of an actual wall. They totally get that. What they also know is that in those areas where there's perforation and people are coming through, that there would be reinforcement. And they don't understand, not that I was too eager to jump into politics on my vacation, but they don't understand, so they tell me, why Democrats on the other side don't agree with something that they helped write in 2006.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because I think today, if you confronted them with the exact same language of that legislation, they would turn away from it. And, you know, this is something that Chuck Schumer voted for, Hillary Clinton voted for, Barack Obama voted for. Yet today, if you speak of it in the same terms, and I don't think the discourse is that extremely different from what they were talking about in 2006. And maybe they were talking about it in the context of terrorism, which for a lot of people is still a major concern.
But my question for both of you guys, being Arizonans, so you don't hear the pushback from the other side, the idea that there are people here in this community where they're going to be deporting the moms, and, you know, that whole kind of line of thinking and questioning of people who are saying half my family is going to be taken away?
I can't speak for Megan, but I can tell you what I heard. They employ a tremendous amount of people who are struggling right now to stay in the country long enough to become legal. And so, you know, there has to be something in their estimation that either a day worker program or something that allows them to continue to have a relationship with the United States, but not necessarily send their children to our hospitals and to our schools.
But, you know, we've already had this dramatic decrease in illegal immigration. What is it, like 60%?
We have.
In arrest.
On that border.
Yeah. Do they notice that in Arizona? Have they seen signs of it just from day-to-day activities?
You know, people didn't talk about that as much. What they did talk about was they were refreshed by the people who were more curious coming to our immigrations officers who were on the border down there, finding out legal ways to get into America. Now, remember what was happening 2 or 3 years ago during the summer months, Megan, where 90,000+ children were being sent from Central and South America. That dynamic has, the tide has been stemmed, because when they get here now, we're now not putting them all over the country, which means they can't hide. Which means you can't just couple them up with a relative or two or whatever, a relative sometimes in quotes. So if you just took those numbers alone, I think you'd see some of the percentages that you're talking about.
One thing that has to change, though, and that is that our immigration system is screwed up for legal immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, you have people. It's a very personal story, but my sister-in-law is in Nicaragua. She's been trying to get a green card for 10 years. She has 2 sisters who both are U.S. citizens. She speaks perfect English. She's got an MBA and a CPA. 10 years, and she hasn't been able to get a green card.
But if you have good people who want to come here and work, and, you know, whether they're talking about STEM jobs or, you know, migrant laborers, and you have businesses who want to employ these people, it's really difficult right now for people who are here with great intentions to comply with the law, because the law is really all over the place. It needs to be updated, and, you know, we're having 2 different conversations but trying to conflate them into the same thing.
But it's an opportunity for Republicans, I think, to actually reach out not only to the immigrants who are trying to come here, but to the Latin American community in the United States, the voting Latin American community, saying, look, nobody knows how badly bureaucracy runs as a Republican. That's what we've been talking about for 150 years. So if you really want to change the INS, if you really want to get an immigration system that will help your relatives overseas become legal citizens here, vote Republican, and we're going to try to fix a badly working bureaucracy.
Yeah, that is not the message coming out right now.
No, but it should be.
No,
it should be.
It's definitely not. And you talk about. Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was going to say, anytime you have that conversation, they go right to the Gang of Eight bill. And, you know, I think that there were some flawed aspects of that. And again, you know, just because people want to come here and work, that does not equate to amnesty or citizenship. And those are very different things. I think citizenship is precious in this country, and I think people absolutely should work for it. But there should be ways, if people want to work and support the economy and their families, of allowing people to do that.
Well, like the Braceros program, which you were talking about just a moment ago. I mean, we had a program. It was in place from the late 1940s until the mid-1960s, allowed guest workers to come in. The farmers liked it. The Latin Americans liked it. They'd had to go back. But the point is, what killed that was the unions. The AFL-CIO killed the program because they were making a lot less than the U.S. Workers at doing the same job.
But they still are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's changed on paper.
I mean, the only way to deal with that is that you have to create economic disincentives for companies to hire people, as in when they're caught hiring illegal immigrants, you have to, I mean, the different plans we heard during the election.
Do that now.
Exactly. You could penalize them 3 times the profit that they made off the person or whatever it is. I mean, you have to create a system where, and it can't just be E-Verify, where they have to verify their employees are citizens when they come in. That's part of it. But there also has to be a punishment to the company that's making the economic benefit, because if you remove the economic benefit incentive for people to come, it'll stop like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
the problem with that, though, is then you've got to be honest about the numbers of people that you have here illegally. And what do we have here? We have sanctuary cities. We have an entire state in California that wants to become a jurisdiction. So you'd have to say, look, I see on your books you have A through Z here. We're going to penalize you. They don't want to do that. They want to turn a blind eye, the federal government, because then they would be complicit in keeping those illegals here on the books. I mean, it's
you also have a
right?
welfare system that is providing benefits that lure people over for the wrong reasons. We want people to work here, not just to come here to take welfare.
My family in Texas talks about this. Okay, so Rufus says the left keeps saying that the wall will not keep people out, and one example is that they will use planes. I don't know.
It's not that. Tunnels are a lot of ways that illegal immigrants get into the country as well. Also, nobody ever talks about this. Nobody ever talks about this. I don't know, for whatever reason, but people pay coyotes a lot in Arizona to bring them over the border. And I just read that the rate
coyotes are. What coyotes are.
They're people you pay to help shepherd you over the border in secret, and it can cost up to.
Oftentimes affiliated with gangs and cartels, including
very
MS-13.
Dangerous. Yes.
And that has been one of the ways that MS-13, in addition to drugs, has been making a lot of money. Is
up to $10,000.
Yeah, and that's basically through human trafficking.
And by the way, it was the coyotes who were raping a lot of the Latin American women who came over.
And it made,
according to Fusion.
That is such an excellent point, and it made it very complicated for us who, you know, as Americans are running detention centers along our borders trying to capture particularly some of those children, because now you've got them pinned to, you don't know who you have, basically, and what's happened to these children along the way. Mariah, too, says, why can't the funds withheld from the sanctuary cities fund the wall? It's my understanding there wouldn't be enough money, right?
But also it's not the same of building the wall. I think that's the big question, too. As you know, we've talked about this many times. There's water, there's giant mountains. It's not necessarily applicable. You can just build a wall along the border.
That's a really good point. I mean, topography is one thing, but the biggest issue, and this is going to come up, and this is really going to tie up construction, eminent domain lawsuits, particularly along the Texas-Mexico border, because you have families who have been ranching for generations, and they're not going to give up their property for the greater good. The good for them is providing for their families and keeping something that, you know, private property that they're entitled to.
But by the way, the overall cost is not that. I mean, what the Obama administration is asking for is what, $1.5 billion to start it off. $2 billion. The total.
Trump.
I said Obama. The Trump administration. The total cost is like $21 billion. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money.
But you could see how those cost overruns could be pretty severe.
Well, but he did the Central Park ice skating rink for under budget.
And the inauguration. Remember the inauguration came in under budget.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Skating rink which holds fewer than 100 people at a time. Come on, Fox Business. I know you own a calculator.
Budget on the inauguration. Remember that?
That's true.
Yeah, no, he's cheap.
Okay.
That's all right.
My co-ed.
Hey guys,
I love
it's been fun to be back. Great to see
you.
Yeah. Thank you for your
Thank
sweet
you.
emails while I was on vacation.
I get needy when Harris is gone.
No.
Sorry, I'm a baby.
Lovely. And you're the only one who would listen to my mountain stories anyway, right? We love Arizona. We'll see you back tomorrow.
Yes.